Chris Lyttle. Mr. Lyttle.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm grateful for the opportunity to speak on this sensitive issue. I think we have had some positive contributions today and also some very difficult conversations as well. I would, on behalf of my party, like to extend the appeals for calm and an end to violence before we do see loss of life on our streets in Belfast. Mr. Speaker, I think what matters most to the people of Northern Ireland at this time now is not who threw the first stone, but who's going to take the first steps towards finding peaceful resolutions to these issues. That said, Mr. Speaker, I do think we need to hold actions to account, and I think some of the language that we've seen from executive ministers and indeed Christian ministers was astoundingly dangerous over the last weekend and beyond. The Orange Order, Mr. Speaker, must take responsibility for its actions, and indeed calling people onto the streets and asking for peaceful protest without the means to or plan to control that protest is extremely risky behaviour. Many people, including Northern Ireland executive ministers, have also consistently intimated that the inevitable consequence of a Parades Commission decision that people disagree with is violence is an extremely dangerous proposition. I understand that there is widespread frustration and anger in relation to the adage that violence pays. Let's knock this on the head straight away. Violence has done absolutely nothing for this community. It is wrong, it's counterproductive, it's futile, and I certainly condemn all violence that we have seen unreservedly and without selection. Yes, I give way.
I thank the member for giving way. And does he agree that they started it is not acceptable in the playground, it's not acceptable in our streets, and it should be beneath our politicians?
I would agree strongly, and indeed I think we saw social media postings over the weekend on Twitter from the First and Deputy First Minister that weren't a stone's throw to the type of behaviour that he describes. Can I, Mr. Speaker, in relation to the serious violence, pay tribute to the courage and restraint shown by the PSNI and indeed the mutual aid officers in response to such mindless violence? And can I extend my sympathy to all those who've been injured as a result? Mr. Speaker, the result of violence is only more criminal records, injury and loss for all of those involved, not those people who call people onto the streets and abdicate responsibility when the community and the lives get torn apart. The only reason people achieve anything is through peaceful, lawful and democratic action, and I'm willing to represent the legitimate concerns of anyone within that context. Yes, I give way.
In terms of peaceful, lawful and democratic action, can I ask the member for East Belfast to comment on what happened to my lodge as we returned home along the Newtownards Road, where the police have confirmed that we come under a sustained, premeditated attack from the Short Strand, where disabled children were hit with paint bombs, where I had to put junior orange men into a minibus and put them down a cul-de-sac because they were coming under sustained attack from missiles and barrage on a peaceful, legitimate parade. And should not the Deputy First Minister join the First Minister set the leadership and condemned all violence? Should he not have condemned that Republican violence and shown leadership from the Republican community and called on them to hand over the names of the IRA who murdered 300 of my Orange brethren?
Member for his intervention, Mr. Speaker. I have absolutely no hesitation whatsoever, without selection, of condemning any type of violence of that nature, and I would only wish that the member would perhaps do the same in relation to all violence that we've seen this weekend as well. Mr. Speaker, the credibility of many people and institutions have been seriously damaged, and the test of the sincerity of the call for peaceful protest will be how effectively those people assist the PSNI with their investigations. Those who attack loyal order parades must also be dealt with in a same robust legal manner. Indeed, this violence has done a massive disservice to the Orange men and women who uphold positive and dignified cultural celebration. So, Mr. Speaker, what is the way forward? I strongly believe, and my party believes wholeheartedly, in a shared future. None of us are going anywhere, and we can continue as we are with all the human consequences and costs, or we can learn how to share this piece of land together. Some people have gone on the offensive in relation to a shared future and said that what we see is more akin to a neutral or an anemic future. I wholeheartedly disagree, and I absolutely support that people should be able to assemble, parade and protest. People should be able to belong, but with that comes responsibility. A responsibility not to denigrate other people's cultures, not to engage in sectarianism, and not to demarcate territory in a long-term intimidating manner. That is not asking for neutrality, Mr. Speaker. It is demanding decency and dignity from organisations to whom this should be second nature. Yes, you
Member for giving way. And further to that, would he also agree that all of Northern Ireland must be treated as shared space and no label should ever be placed in any street or any park or anything? And indeed, while there will be issues to be resolved in terms of how we regulate that, we should understand that no one has a right to claim any territory through a flag or in terms of blocking a parade.
Yes,
Members' time's almost gone.
I absolutely agree, and I would reiterate my call for a stop to the violence, to allow the political process that we have in terms of the inter-party working group to take its course and try and find solutions for everyone in Northern Ireland.
Trevor Clark.